Welcome back to DM-Nastics, the gym for dungeon masters to work out their minds. I'm one of your hosts, DM Neil, aka Jote Maniac.
And I'm your other host, DM Derek, aka How Not to DM.
What, Derek? Derek's in the gym!
I'm in the gym. I'm getting my reps in. It's been a while, but you can't skip leg day.
Yep. It was a swap. Celeste was in the main house. Derek had to do a little mental gym workout. I was in both, and here we go.
Today, Neil, we're looking at an article from thegamer.com by Luke Ackroyd, no relation, and it is Dungeons and Dragons, 8 classic towns to put in your campaign.
And we will entitle this exercise, We Built This City. It's a song. So go look that up. I'll put a link in the show notes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go down in the show notes. There'll be a link in there.
Fun fact, I have that album on cassette.
Whoa. Wow. And anytime it gets unraveled, he uses a pencil and ravels it back in.
Never had that happen, knock on wood.
Yeah, if you don't know what that means, that's probably for the best.
You probably don't have as many gray hairs as Neil and I.
Oh,
all
gosh,
right.
I hope not.
So let's start off, Neil, strong with they count down from 8 to 1. Number 8, a teleporting town.
So, again, as always, one of the big things about doing these articles are titles are always kitschy. Titles are supposed to grab you. Who knows what's actually in the article based on the title? It's very difficult to tell. But one of the big things is as D&D 5.24 is making its rise, as countless other TTRPGs are showing up on the scene, one of the things that we think is important to start talking about are ways to start things. And having ideas for towns is a really important one. And having a teleporting town is definitely an interesting way to start a campaign.
Yeah, you can throw this kind of thing anywhere in your game. You know, you're moving on to kind of a new section of the story. Or like you said, this could be where they're starting off or where they're starting off traveling to. But the idea of a town that they can visit one day and then is gone the next, or they, go to the tavern and lay down their weary heads for that long rest and then wake up in a completely different plane in the same town, could be really fun. Could be a lot of adventure hooks to sprinkle in there. Maybe you've got characters who are from different planes of existence or are searching for stuff on different planes. There's a lot of different ways you can use this in your game to sow some seeds.
I like it not being there at low levels. I like moving it at high levels. I'm really hesitant on moving the party. Take every piece of advice however you want to. For me, I would hesitate moving them early just because I don't know how much I would have tied their background to certain things that are local. Because often that's how framing early play is. You're impacting a local area. I'm stronger. I can impact a larger area. I'm strong enough. I can impact the world. I can impact the plane. I can impact the universe, so on and so forth. So I would be a little hesitant to just be like, ha, you're in the Feywild now.
It can happen. What I would do is I would have them visit the town, and maybe there's someone or something they're looking for in the town. They need to talk to someone. They need to find something. For some reason, you lure them out of the town and then make it disappear while they're out. Come back, it's gone. Boom, there's your mystery. You got to solve it. Where did this town go? Is it over the next hill? Is it on a different continent? Or, is it in the Feywild and then it returns later? There's lots of different ways you could take that. But yeah, I think it's a fun way to kind of add some mystery at the beginning. Like you said, so long as you're not just transporting them somewhere else, isekai style, unless that's what they want.
Well, that leads us to number 7, which I think is a very interesting one.
Yeah.
The town in the painting. Basically, your party notices that there's a town fully functioning inside of a painting. It appears to be a living town, and they're actually drawn into the artwork itself. And at that point, do they know they're in a painting? How far outside of the bounds of this painting are they capable of traveling? Can things be added just by adding to the painting itself? Or are things that happen in the painting added to the painting permanently? The questions about this make me think of time travel.
Yes.
in the sense that for longtime listeners know, for me, time travel, I don't care what your rules are about time travel, follow them. That's it. That's all you have to do. Whatever they are, simple, complex, anything in between, whatever rules you set, follow them. That's it. That's how you make time travel function inside of a story. Unless you have very specific rules as to why you're subverting that particular aspect of those rules, then it's pretty simple. Like the Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt, where it's like basically they have like a junction from like a 30-year junction, and it's like moving forward in real time. So it's always a 30-year jump no matter what. And like from the date they figure it out, every day that moves forward, you're still jumping 30 years, either forward or backward. And it is always that way. And so they're always choosing people that are, not there 30 years later.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And so like they just set those rules and just follow those rules.
Yeah.
And is it the greatest movie of all time? No. Do I enjoy the way that they chose to do time travel? Yeah, because they just followed their own rules. And so I would do all that to say I would do the same thing here, is like just try and like set rules and follow them when setting this up.
Yeah, some of their examples are like maybe you find a book in Candlekeep or something like that. I feel like my friend Matthew has done this in his current game where his party finds an orb and then they all travel, like they all touch the orb and are transmuted into it, and then they get to interact with a memory of someone who put the memory in there. So they play different people in this memory, not themselves. They kind of have to like learn what they learned from the memory and then are transported back out. So it's like a way of him, giving them plot points, giving them history lessons without having to like just sit there and talk about it. He lets them kind of live through it, which is cool. So that's one way you could do this, is like you're seeing a historical painting of a town. You are transported into the painting to experience something, learn something from this. This also gives me Star Trek vibes, where they go down to some planet that isn't contacted yet, and they all put on goofy costumes and like pretend that they are people who live there and kind of like have to learn what they can learn scouting the surface. Or, what was the other example I was thinking of?
I'm trying to see if you're going to pick mine.
What is it?
Kandor inside of the Superman lore, where basically Brainiac takes a town and shrinks it down and saves it from the destruction of Krypton. So he has an entire town basically inside of a tiny jar that is miniaturized and is still of like a fully functioning town. Superman gets a hold of it, and then the entire time is just trying to like make it normal sized again. Because now there's these Kryptonians that he has basically come across that are still in existence, but at a very, very small size.
No, that wasn't exactly. I have forgotten what it was. It was some pop culture reference, but I like the time travel idea. I like the it being a historical place, and I also like the people don't know that they've been shrunk down into a painting. That's also interesting too. There's a lot of different ways you could do that. Like kind of like the Matrix. It's a simulation. Some crazy wizard set it up. Could be fun. All right, number 6, overrun by monsters. This is a pretty classic example. You show up to this town. As you show up, all of a sudden, like, there's this big commotion going on, and there's monsters running rampant, and people are screaming, and now it's time to solve the problem. You could do that. You could also make it so that maybe there is some sort of monster that's in the center of town controlling everybody, and you don't know about it. Or they give an example of a false Hydra, manipulating the residents. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could do this. Maybe the whole town is just made up of mimics also. But yeah, it's the classic rats in the dungeon, just on a bigger scale, I feel like.
You could also do it where everyone's controlled. You could do it where you could also do it where it's a common occurrence. I know that's certainly a way I've set it up, where it's a smaller town, but it's more of a frontier town where it's a commonplace thing that it gets overrun. And so then the party is there to help. And maybe they're the only reason that they'll survive this time because it's a larger issue. And is that
maybe there's a kid who didn't make it into the tavern before it got locked, before everyone battens down the hatches in preparation for the monster showing up. Yeah. Lots of ideas.
13th Warrior, best D&D movie ever. Watch it.
I didn't know this, but it's based off a Michael Crichton novel.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna listen to that audiobook first, and then eventually I'll watch it.
The Man-Eaters. It's right here. It's right here on the shelves.
Nice.
It's ready to go. But no, the concept that like this is also this is probably one that's a little easier to make as a campaign starter to say. Sure. The town is overrun. That's not a thing that has ever happened before. This party is there. Now, like, why are all these orcs or whatever, why are all these kobolds? Why are all these dragons? Like, it could, there's nothing to say it couldn't have already have been overrun and you're coming upon it as well. That there's no one there other than monsters. So, yeah, that one's super straightforward. That's a fun one because that one is also a good way to be a seed after you kind of already know where you want to end up. Like, I know I want to end up with this kind of being my big bad at the end. What are some smaller monsters that they would probably have? Okay, boom. That's what has already overrun the town.
It's the flying monkeys of the Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm. Done. That's exactly what we should be doing. Speaking of number 5, this is not a segue at all. Number 5, a town with a dark secret. This one is definitely at your own risk because these will get into it's a darker territory. So this is not going to work for everyone. This is not going to work for every campaign. But basically, like, is there something more going on, but the town is actually in on it? Like, is there are they just like, hey, we don't like that you're here. We've been trying to summon Cthulhu and you're really messing up our plans. So we'd love it if you left.
Yep. Classic X-Files trope, monster of the week trope. You show up, the town doesn't like you. You don't know why. You find the dark secret. My very first session that I ever ran as a DM was a homebrew, and it was a town on a coast. And the dark secret was there was a cult in town trying to summon this demon on the eve of the autumnal solstice, and the person in charge of the town hires the party to figure out, like, what's going on. There's something weird happening in town, but I don't know what, Yeah, it's a classic, and I think it works well.
So another one is interesting because I feel like this one could apply to several of the other options that we previously mentioned, but the town of no escape. So Curse of Strahd, basically, Hotel California.
Yeah. Spoilers for Curse of Strahd. You get stuck in Barovia.
You can go, but you can never leave.
But yeah, this could work with the painting. This could work with the town with the secret. This could work with the teleporting town. You could stack them all on top of each other, basically.
Yeah. Oh, the teleporting town because it moves. Someone keeps moving the painting.
Yep. And someone who set it up has the dark secret. Yeah. Yeah, so the idea is you're stuck there and it's not immediately apparent on how to escape. You're in the video game and you like run into the edge of the map and that's as far as you can go. There's a lot of different ways you can take that. How they get out. Can they get out? Are they just all going to die there?
Yeah. The big caution with this one, like that I always think about is how much buy-in I already have from my table and how aggressive I end up having to be about the fact that I have to turn them around. Like you butt up against it because it's the main idea behind this whole town is that they can't go anywhere. But you also have to kind of figure out like how okay everyone is with that concept. Either I've already kind of told them and they know what they're getting into, or I haven't, and I have to in real time gauge how comfortable they are with that because I'm telling them they can't go anywhere. And so this is like the most railroad option that we've mentioned so far because it's not like, no, you can't. Like this is the first time where like, there's no question. You're just telling them, no, you can't. You've been turned around because that's kind of what happens with the mist of Barovia. You go into the mist and you basically turn around and you're facing Barovia again. Like, no, you went into the mist, you came back out. Like, you drive down the path and you came back, you turned around and you're on the same path, or you pass out and you wake up and you're back in town, or, there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about why they can't leave or how they can't leave. But basically they can't leave. I mean, there's nothing to stop you from Groundhog Daying them.
True.
In terms of what they can do and why they can't leave and how they approach not leaving and what they need to do before they can leave. But
yeah, learn about themselves, become better people. Take piano lessons.
Millions of iterations later.
Yeah. The next one, number 3 on the list, is Floating Island Town. This is really fun. It's another classic fantasy trope. My friend Matthew, again, has introduced these kind of flying cities in one of his games where they all crash landed a while ago, influenced by Critical Role Season 2, definitely. But I got to run a one-shot for him and his players with the floating town, which is always fun. The vibes that they're kind of giving, though, is like, there's this flying town and you don't know how to get there, and that's part of the problem. It's like Pokemon, right? You've got to learn the hidden move, surf or cut to get there, right? Like how are the how are the players going to unlock the ability to fly to this place to get there? Why do they need to get there? And what's going to be there when they get there in the end. So it's kind of fun. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. You could have the flying city be where the gods dwell, or maybe it's sky elves, or maybe it's something completely different. But why is it flying? How is it flying? Does it move, or is it stationary? And what is important for them to do to get there?
I love the idea that they don't want it. The town doesn't want it. Something happened. They're like, this sucks. I don't want we're forced. Like some magical mishap, some war, some experiment, some monster,
a curse.
Something. Yeah, something happened, and they're just like, yeah, we live in the sky, and it's awful.
It's cold. There's not as much oxygen up here.
No, or we just don't know. We just don't know what tomorrow will bring, because we're just along for the ride. We're just where the wind takes us, and we don't want this anymore. Like as a collective unit, we would love to just be on the ground, and maybe that's the adventure. Make it stop.
Subvert the trope. It's not a magical place that people want to go. It's everyone's screaming to get off the ride.
Yeah.
I like it.
What if it's new? Yeah. What if it's even new? Like, hey, this just happened. That town. Hey, whoa, that town is going by. You guys should stop. You should stop it. I don't think they like that. And yeah, just go tell them. Yeah, help them down.
It's a twist on the first one, the teleporting town. It's just up and went somewhere, and no one knows where it's going or why.
Oh, I like it. Number 2, which I think is funny and very intentional, and I really hope I hope it was. So I really hope Luke wrote this intentionally and forget the order. Number 2 had to be a town split in 2. Basically, you have a town divided. What does that mean? Open for interpretation. Is it that there's 2 rival factions, and I don't know, this made me think of like Old West, and you kind of have that that one center street that is obscenely wide in every movie. Every time I see it, like as I got older, I'm like, why is the street so big? Why would you do that?
So a wagon can turn around.
Then go outside.
That's what they say about the streets here in Utah, especially in Salt Lake City. They say that they designed them so wide so that you could turn a wagon all the way around if you needed to. I don't know. Could be apocryphal.
I'll take it. I just feel like you could just go out the other side. You didn't have a lot you were doing back then.
No.
And the town's not big enough. You couldn't take
the 2 of us.
You couldn't take the extra 5 minutes to go the extra 50 feet and turn around over there. All right, whatever. I'll take it. I'll accept the answer.
The town split is classic, though, right? A fun way to play this is you don't really delineate between good and bad. There's not necessarily a person who's in the right and who is evil. It's just kind of 2 different people want 2 different things. How are you going to solve it? Who are you going to align yourselves with? Are you going to try to make peace between the 2 groups? Are you going to choose one side and fight the other based on your backstory or your ideals and bonds and flaws, etc.? it's a classic, kind of throw them a problem and see how they decide to solve it.
Yeah. So one of the other ideas that was thrown out and was basically and we're going to, you know what, we'll probably bring this up in our taking your supplement section, but I have an item that spurred this idea in my own head. But basically, like, there's a actual physical split. Is there like a chasm now that is
an earthquake?
Yeah, like the other side of the town is over there. Like, we're just townsfolk, and we don't really have a way to do anything about that. Could you help us? I actually there's a prompt, and I came up with the idea of like, what if the world had been split in half by the gods for some reason, and like the two halves have never been put back together, and like shouldn't be. And so like, what does that mean? And like, how, like, there can't, like, and the people that can travel back and forth either by magical means or whatever, like, they're very important, and they're very, they're rich beyond their wildest dreams because now commerce, blah, 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 all those things. But like, are you building bridges? Does that work? Is it stable enough to build bridges? Are you building more magical bridges, like portals? Like, and so there's a lot that could be done with just like a physical separation that is beyond the means that the town is capable of. And how is the party able to help facilitate that?
It's not a flying city. It's a flying half of the globe.
Mm-hmm.
They start spinning counterclockwise to each other.
Those were the questions I had. I was like, what does that mean? Do they stay together? Like, do the poles stay the same? Like, technically, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I had a lot of questions, not a lot of answers.
I love it. Okay, number 1 on the list, Luke, I'm not so sure about this, my friend. But last on the list is what they put is the town still in construction. I suppose you could argue that this gives the town a feel of the players can make it what they want. That's kind of fun. Or, you can help construct it. There's going to be a lot more errands to be run or protection that needs to be had because there's not going to be those established, factions and groups. Like, is there an established town guard yet or not? Is there enough wood to build the houses? Are monsters attacking all the time because this is out on the frontier, too close to the edge of, the wilds or whatever. I feel like it's the least, not the least, but one of the less interesting versions of these ideas here. But I suppose that you could kind of make it whatever you want. I don't know. What's your thought?
The only time I would think about like really, really like implementing this one to like set it in a world is if it truly was a home base. Like, this is the point of return, and like everything stems from here. Yeah. Like, this is where they call home. Are they building? Am I doing a West Marches campaign? This would be great for that. Like, everyone calls this home. Everyone has, or am I doing more of like an adventure board style campaign where is it at like a local game store and this is the collective town that everyone's making that like I've kind of set up for everybody, and there's adventures that I have, and okay, what do you guys want to do today? Boom, you pick that one. Great. We'll run that adventure, and I'll kind of keep notes. This is how the town's been developing. Or if it is like a home group that I'd be running, I'd have to gauge how much a table would want to be interested in this, because there's a table that loves this idea that like is over the moon. Like, okay, yeah, let's figure out exactly. Okay. So what is the watch? What is, do we have a blacksmith? Do we have like, what kind of commerce? Like, are we tied back into the larger town? Like, how are we pushing out? Like, all of those things. And there are certainly tables out there that would love for this to happen. And then there are tables that would not. That said, like, mine right now is fairly close to this in the sense that like there was a town, they've kind of taken it over, and they don't really want to leave, and they kind of come back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Now, my last thing would be, I think having the option to leave and not come back is probably the most important thing with this idea, is that you need to be ready to have this town keep going if they leave.
Yeah, I think the way it works best is you give them all stakes for why the town is important to them, family or friends or whatever. It could be fun, like they suggest, as a frontier town. Maybe it's a new undiscovered continent. Just be mindful of how your table feels about colonial themes, depending on where they're or what they're discovering and how. But yeah, it definitely could be interesting for the right group. You're absolutely right.
Okay. But that means we're going to lift the mental weights right now.
Lifting weights is what I do. Look at me. Lift these weights.
So, to lift the mental weights, DM Neil and I are going to roll a d8 and pick the number from the list here of types of towns, and then we're going to build that town together.
Oh, I have a d8 and I have rolled it. Okay, this is funny because of the choices that I made when we talked about it, but I rolled number 3, the floating island town.
I like it. The floating island town. I say we run, or rather fly, with your idea of the town starts flying, but the people on it do not want to be there or do not want it to be flying in the first place. So let's decide how that happened.
How did it originally start flying? Like, what is the actual inciting event?
Right. And how long ago was it? Is it recent? Is this just like the town where they came from and all of a sudden it's flying? Or is this a town they're traveling to and they notice that it's not where it's supposed to be because it's drifting that way?
I say fairly recent. I say within the past several weeks.
Okay.
Don't want it to be somewhere that they're going. I want them to see it, because that's still very funny to me. I'm just like, hey, what's that? What is that?
So here's the idea. It's like early morning in a mountain pass. They're sleeping at some sort of high elevation, or perhaps like in a treehouse or top of a treehouse or something. And whoever is doing that watch, all of a sudden just sees like a hulking mass of stone just slowly gliding past. And it's like scraping the tops of the trees, or like, takes off a huge chunk of the mountain with it that starts tumbling toward them. And they have to wake their companions to avoid a bunch of damage from whatever's falling. And that's like, what is this thing? It's moving so slow, but what is it and why is it there?
I absolutely love the idea that it's also just a hazard. Like, this is great. I love this because it's like, no, we don't know. It's just bumping into stuff and we might die. Like, we don't know what's going on. And it is a very real thing that we could die. Because we
just
don't
like
know
an
what
air
caused
hockey
it.
puck, just like floating around.
The other fear they have is, what could make it stop? We could just fall unceremoniously to the ground and die a terrible death because we just fell and died. Please help us.
So, maybe there are people along the edge of this floating town looking around for other people, and they are able to see the party after they pass all the way over, like the ship from Spaceballs, just nice and slow. And maybe they like chuck some messages overboard, like you see them chuck some paper airplanes or like, paper tied to rocks, and you go over and that's how you figure out their plight. Like, we are, this is this town. We were here. Please help us. Then that's how they're able to communicate, or they're close enough that they can hear yelling.
I like the idea of throwing rocks. That's kind of what I had thought of. Like, they don't have enough magical means. They don't have enough physical
fall.
means. Nothing of just like, I have tied a message to this thing and I have pushed it off and I hope you read it because I don't know what else to do. It makes me think of like, I'm on this deserted island and I spelled out SOS.
Yeah.
Trees and debris that I have found. And I hope you see it.
100%. The same energy.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think caused it?
I mean, my mind always goes to like the realm of chaos or chaos gods causing it. Like, this is kind of like a Loki prank on a not a cosmic scale, but like on a planetary scale, like, I was feeling a little bored, so I took the city and I just lifted it up and let it float and see, I'm seeing what happens just for the chaos. Or perhaps there's some sort of ancient magical power underneath that was awakened by someone doing something. Maybe they were digging too deep in a mine and activated this thing, or, maybe some wizard or lich or something has been awakened elsewhere, and like something they had buried underneath this town gets activated and just like lifts up and starts moving. I don't know. It's kind of like the giant walking titan from Critical Role, or those giant robot things that are just like part of the city in Atlantis, the Disney animated movie. All of a sudden they're just like part of the scenery and they just start standing up, and then they are doing something. So maybe it's, something underneath the city that like is getting activated and moving, and they don't know why. I don't know. Those are the ideas that are coming to me.
Okay. So that kind of goes with the little bit that was in my head of like it ties to whatever magical ley lines are set up in whatever world. And like that's what it like eventually you figure out like that's what it's actually following. And like it's definitely gonna just run into stuff because it's 100% just A to B following a magical ley line. And like, can you figure out where it's gonna go based on that? Potentially. I kind of don't want it to be able to go back to where it was, because I feel like that's a more interesting solution to all of this. Like your best bet is to get it to another like magical ley line intersection and do some sort of ritual and bring it down. But like you have to decide as a party, where does that happen? And like that's the new location for the town.
Could be very interesting, especially if it's moving slowly enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you could outpace it by traveling quickly, whether by horse or some other means, and then like try to prepare the way before it. That could be kind of cool. And I like that because then once it lands, there's, additional problems like, do we relocate all these people? Maybe they've crossed a kingdom boundary and they're actually not welcome where they have traveled to. Or maybe, it's like a bunch of dwarves that got transported to an elvish kingdom and they feel out of place there. There's a lot of different things you could, it could just be as simple as the climate is completely different. And so all the crops they know how to grow, all of their herds do not suit this wherever they end up. It's in the desert. And then there's a whole other list of problems to solve.
Yeah. And you could make a whole campaign where the first intersection you have to go, and the best you can do is slow it down. And so giving you more time to the place you actually want to drop it, because you get there and you realize there's a whole town there. I can't put this town down on top of the town that's already here. This won't work. So
all of a sudden they all start popping up, or this one pops up and then all of a sudden you realize that it's going to start happening elsewhere and you've got to try to solve that.
Yeah.
It could be kind of fun. All of a sudden it becomes spinning plates.
Yeah. But with that, I say we have done it. And of course, if you enjoyed this and you want to tell us about how you've been adding floating cities to your campaigns, you can always email us at dungeonmastersblock@gmail.com. And of course, if you see fit and you enjoyed this episode, you can always head over to your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a rating and review because it'll make me happy. I'll smile. Probably. And of course, if you head over to your social media of choice, good for you. I'm proud of you. That's a tough place to go sometimes. But you can usually find us at DMS_block. That's at DMs block, or just search Dungeon Masters Block. We should pop up. And of course, I am at Joke Maniac, and
I am at How Not to DM or at HN2DM, depending on the platform.
And for everything else on the network, you can always go to blockpartypodcastnetwork.com.
A huge thank you to the bards over on Bombarded for our intro and outro music. You can find out more about Bombarded at bombardedcast.com. One more thing, DM Thomas over at iCast Fireball is holding a meetup, which is only a few dollars, and it is coming up in August. On August 9th, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. in Lehi, Utah at Game Grid. That's a local friendly game store, Game Grid. They are going to do board games, TTRPGs all day long. So if you want to go meet the cast of iCast Fireball or some of the cast of their sister show Improv Tabletop, then feel free to head out to the meetup August 9th. For more information, you can head to tabletop.events/conventions/i-cast-fireball. And we will go ahead and throw that in the episode notes one more time. That is tabletop.events/conventions/i-cast-fireball 2025. Or you can head to tabletop.events and search for events near me and specify you're looking for events in Utah or iCast Fireball to find out more information. Again, we'll put that in the episode show notes, but my friend Thomas, the DM at iCast Fireball, and the cast are really looking forward to it. It's going to be $10 for badges to go. They're going to be playing tons of games for 12 straight hours, and you will have a good time guaranteed.
But rather than let these mental gains go to waste, let's head to taking your supplements.
Taking your supplements.
Today on Taking Your Supplements, it's an interesting thing. I couldn't figure out who actually made it. I think it's just straight from D&D, but that still feels weird when I say that because it doesn't, I guess it has to be. Today for Taking Your Supplements, I have the World Builder's Journal of Legendary Adventures. Create mythical characters, storied worlds, and unique campaigns. It's a daily journal with prompts in it.
And you just slowly build your world as you fill out the prompts. No.
That's what the title would like to lead you to believe. So this is perfect to go on DM-Nastics. Very similar to a title of an article that has led you to believe what's going to be in the article. Just like the title of this book has led you to believe what's going to happen. No, but just like an article will have a bunch of great stuff inside of it, in spite of the title, this book is very similar.
Is it just like warm-ups every day kind of thing?
It is. It's 100% that. It is not going to accomplish
daily DM-Nastics.
Yes. And so what I thought, and immediately on the reviews were very similar, what I thought based on exactly what you felt was you're going to walk me through what it would be like to build a world. And when I'm done with this book, I will have a world built. While that's not necessarily untrue based on the prompts and being done with the prompts, it is not going to be done in a cohesive or constructive manner. Like it's not going to one to 2 to 3 to 4. And at the end, you'll have any semblance of what you've built. Now that said, the content and the questions that it's asking you are fantastic questions and really good to like just be daily prompts to just kind of keep you in like that mode. Like if you know it's a long time between sessions and you kind of still want to literally just do daily DM-Nastic kind of style things. This is fantastic. Also though, 100% the wrong framing on all of the questions. It does not ask you like you are the DM. It asks like you're the player.
Like you're a character?
Yes.
Yeah, give us some examples.
Sometimes it doesn't. So like basically my prompt that I'll do tomorrow, create a plot for your next adventure using only strange stories you find in local newspapers or from peculiar internet lore. Craft your story here.
That could
super
be for
cool.
a DM. That's a good idea too.
Exact. So this on the other hand, you and your fellow adventurers become trapped in a loop between two different dimensions with different settings and plot lines in each dimension. As you bounce back and forth between them, you begin to learn how they are connected. What is the connection? If you and your party can save only one dimension, which one would it be and why?
Yeah, that's more. I don't. That's an interesting way to frame it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and so like that lives in a super weird place of like, okay, which side of the screen is supposed to be answering this question? Because
and why?
Yeah, because how you interact with that issue is what the players decide. like, what is the connection is what the DM decides. And if your party can save one dimension, which one would it be and why? Again, goes back onto the players. So it does take a little mental gymnastics in and of itself to reframe it as like what you want to do as a DM. But again, I bought 2, so my daughter and I are both doing it. And then we're kind of just sharing our answers together. So it is also a really cool thing if like you wanted to buy 2 of them and had a writing partner and just kind of wanted to do that sort of thing. Or if you wanted to create a writing partner, I think this is a really good way to do that, is to just have writing prompts that you're both doing to kind of figure out like, okay, what are our writing styles and how do they fit together? Because you both are interacting with the same prompts and then having and seeing what those identical prompts on the same day, what are our answers to those, and then sharing them. I think is a really interesting exercise if you did have a writing partner or had someone that you wanted to be your writing partner.
That is fun that you're doing it with your daughter, though. I feel like that's a good way to use it, is with somebody else. You know, it is like daily DM-Nastics for yourself to kind of just make the brain work. Is it like a calendar, or is it just kind of like each day you can choose to do it? Or like, you know, if you skip a day, you just can go to the next prompt and it's fine.
It's structured 100% like a journal, and I can write in the day. So it's not structured like that at all, which is also
Cool.
how I set it up with my daughter, because for her, I wanted to ensure that it was an enjoyable thing that we were doing, not a stressful thing.
Right. Not homework.
Nope. 100%. If we skip a day, we skip a day. If we don't get a chance to share our days for a couple days, that's fine too. When we get a chance, we'll share a couple days at a time. It's great. Do not worry about it. It is a fun thing that we are both doing together, and you could easily skip weeks at a time and just write the next day. Like I said, you write in the day that you're doing it, because you could do it once a week. You could do it, you know, as literally whenever you want, and write in the day as you do it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, if you're looking for something to do every day and have a journal, you can find another link in the show notes. But with that, we'll turn out the lights and head out of the gym. Before we go, I want to implore you, the listener, to join us on the Discord and anywhere else you can find us and take part in these challenges, exercises, and other amazing conversations being had.
To do that, head over to bit.ly/DMBanter and try some DM-Nastics so your players don't ask, do you even lift?